What if you could learn to benefit from real-life tools that expand your faith and widen your perspective to see new possibilities for your life? Well, let me invite you to join us for our Word on Investing Summit, Money, Faith, and Mindset. It's a live virtual event. At the summit, you'll spend 2 days with world-renowned Christian business leaders and million-dollar entrepreneurs like myself, the Benham brothers, Dr. Myron Golden, and many others from the comfort of your own home. We'll be speaking on how your mindset, your walk with the Lord, and understanding economic principles from the Bible are the keys to unlocking your next level of financial potential. If you're looking to find a renewed sense of purpose in your financial and spiritual life, and make no mistake, they are connected, make sure to grab your ticket to the Word on Investing Virtual Summit happening April 22nd and 23rd, 2022, because registration will close soon. Get your free ticket at TRADEway.com/summit. That's TRADEway.com/summit. Hey guys, I'm David Mitchell, founder and CEO of TRADEway. What if God Himself gave you a blueprint for how to handle your money? Well, the Bible is a practical book. Let's dive in and see what it has to say about wealth, about risk, about leverage, and about investing, and uncover how trading in the stock market can be a powerful tool for moving towards your biggest goals. We're so happy you're here. This is the Word on Investing. You know, guys, in my lifetime, I've been privileged to hear some of the best preachers in the world preach, and I've heard some of the best motivational speakers speak. My guest today, Mr. James Smith, is without a doubt one of the greatest speakers I've ever heard. For over 3 decades, he's proven to be one of America's foremost experts in real estate investing, and he's spoken to, trained, and mentored hundreds of thousands of people around the world to be more literate in finance and wealth building. James has spoken on stage with every living U.S. president. Did you hear that? Every living U.S. president. And many other influential speakers, preachers, athletes, actors. Too many to name all of them. Beyond that, though, I've observed him in less formal situations, and I can say he truly, truly cares for people. He wants people to be successful in life. The number of people he has helped to gain financial literacy in many areas, but particularly in real estate, is countless at this point. And lastly, I personally know his family, and only a good man can raise great kids. His grown children are remarkable and brilliant business people who have built multi-million-dollar businesses on their own. In fact, I'll be interviewing his son Ryan and his wife Jamie soon, and I'm very excited about that because you guys are going to get great business ideas from them. Well, James, welcome, and I'm so honored to have you on the show today.
Thank you, my brother. It's good to be with you today.
I got the privilege to see you on the big stage here recently in a meeting we did together with close to 8,000 people. And you not only had their attention, you had them wanting to jump up, leave, and go start doing what you were teaching them to do. And that's a good seminar when they want to leave early, go do it. But it was fantastic. You always do a great job. But I want to ask you this. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and how do you get to the place where you're standing on a stage with a U.S. president, let alone all the living presidents? How does that happen?
Well, that's a great question, and something that I think people need to understand is that there is real evil in the world, and there's real goodness in the world. And evil wants you to be afraid and live in fear and minimize yourself and kind of not have your wildest dreams come true. Goodness, and we know who I'm referring to when I say evil and goodness. So we all know who and what that means. And the number one fear that people have is public speaking. And my father was a pastor, and he started small churches all over Arizona and Ohio and Texas and just kind of all over the place. And to make sure that I paid attention every Sunday, because our churches were so small, we didn't have a youth ministry, he would ask me what the service was about and what the sermon was about. And I needed to have the right answer. I wouldn't get beat or anything, but any good child wants their parents to be pleased with them. So I was watching him and his speaking skills and stuff. And so I don't know. I've just kind of always been able to walk in front of a crowd and talk, or a small crowd, a big crowd. It really doesn't matter to me. And when you worry what people think of you, you're never going to do well anyway. You got to just go out and get it on. John the Baptist didn't really care what people thought about him. And neither do I. You just have to go out and be honest and transparent and tell people the truth.
Yeah. Well, you got it somehow, I'm telling you. And first time Charlotte and I saw you on stage, we just smiled the entire time. It was great. And it's been that way every other time. So I look forward to the future too. You're just, you're so great. I guess my favorite thing you do is you get people to see that it's as easy as learning some stuff. I love the way you put that. Where'd you come up with that phrase?
Well, I mean, it's kind of bizarre. People always think that if you have a PhD in academia, or, your IQ is 155, somehow you're going to be very successful. But ordinary people can be extraordinary if they want to. And the tools are out there. They're out there. I got an email from someone from the Dallas gig we did, and they said, so does that mean after listening to you, you're going to help us do everything? And it's like, no, I'm not going to help you do anything. I'm going to give you the tools you need so you can go do what it is you need to do and be successful at it. But, that's why when I talk, I tell people, you got to turn your television off.
That's right.
You have to turn it off, because Americans are watching television 4 hours and 29 minutes a day. So if you shut your stupid television off and let's say you don't even spend 4 hours and 29 minutes. Let's say you spend 2 hours, just 2 hours, just doing there's 365 days in a year, and 2 hours times that. Do you realize that gives you over a month of work weeks to go be successful? So it's like time management. And the extra time you didn't spend doing that, love on your children.
Yeah.
Love on your wife or your husband, or love on your parents. Just, stop wasting time on people and things that have no eternal value.
Right.
They have no value. Like, I love sports when my children or grandchildren are playing. But to watch some stupid team on TV, I would rather get a tattoo on my face. It's a waste of my time. I don't care. It means nothing to me.
Well, I guess the funniest thing I heard you say so far, anyway, in front of a big crowd, is you get them angry, right? And that's awesome. You get them angry at what's going on, and they start to see some of the things that are the problem. One of my questions I was about to ask you, which I don't even have to ask now because you're answering it right now, is what advice would you give our listeners to better their lives? But you're doing it. And the funniest one was you were at this crescendo in part of your talk, and you said, I can't believe you guys go out and you buy a T-shirt and you put some other dude's name on it and put their number on there. You ought to put a number 1 on the back and put your own name on it.
That's right. Because, see, your DNA, and yours and mine, is different than every human on planet Earth. And so we forget how special we are and the majesty of Holy Father, Lord God. To do that, of the billions of people on earth, there's not another one of you.
Yeah.
And there's not another one of me. We not only have our fingerprints, but we have a soul print. We have a DNA print. And just when you understand the mathematical improbability of that, it's from here to Venus and back. It's crazy. And so, schools, universities, want to make sure you're not special. You're not extraordinary. You're just, and the racism stuff going on. I know there is racism around the world. If you look at China, you can see racism in China with a group of people they're trying to eradicate. So to say there isn't, it's pretty naive. However, God calls all of us to love everybody and treat everybody with respect. So I don't care when I'm on stage and I talk about sex, race, religion, ethnic origin, and politics, which you cannot get away with. Any one of those, man, that's a major problem. But I love all people of all races and all colors. And even people that are atheists that are listening to this right now that think I'm a religious fruit cup, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Because at some point in time in your life, you're going to realize, man, maybe there is a God. I'm not sure. Maybe there could be, because it's just too coincidental how all this is put together.
Yeah. If you try to call that a coincidence, it becomes ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it is. The thing that I love about you and what you guys do is that what I do is I want to just show people paths to follow. I mean, that's what I do. And then I tell people that when people work for me or teach classes, the number one word that I absolutely mandate that instructors have to give people is hope.
Yes.
Because without hope, you can't learn. Without hope, you can't prosper. Without hope, you can't move forward. And so hope is like one of the most important words in my vocabulary. And I'm not perfect at all. I'm not. And I said on stage that the promoter gets more complaints about me than any other speaker. And they get more compliments about me than any other speaker. But it doesn't matter to me. I mean, if you don't like me, go watch the Dallas Mavericks and watch all 80 games. You're not going to have a good life anyway, because you're wasting your time on something that Mark Cuban isn't going to give you a trophy. He's not going to give you free seating because you wasted your life watching that stupid team. It's you have to focus on what matters in life. What matters in life is hope. And if you have children, teach your children, encourage your children, your grandchildren, be kind to your parents. And another word that I'm really big on is forgiveness, because there are people in every crowd that have been hurt by people and they hate them or don't like them. And you got to forgive them and let it go, because it's hurting you more than it hurts anybody else.
Yeah.
So you got to let stuff go and just forgive and have hope and move forward. And the thing I love about you is you also show people a path to follow. And like when they hear real estate investing, or they hear, how do I know the moves to make in the stock market when it's going crazy? And Ukraine just got invaded. Yeah, I said invaded. I said invaded. I said invaded.
Absolutely.
That's the real word that politicians that are afraid of their own shadow should use. They got invaded. And so when that happens, it affects the stock market.
I think actually they're just having an affair.
I think it's an affair. Yeah. Unbelievable. The words that politicians use. But so understanding that you can do things as an individual at home, and you're an IT manager, or you're a school teacher, or you're a bus driver, or you're a janitor at a junior high, or you're retired and you don't have enough money because Social Security check is under $2,000 a month. There's things you can do to kind of get back on track, because see, what people don't get is inflation is going to continue to grow, and America is the world's reserve currency. And when I say that to crowds, they look at me like, what does that mean? They don't get it. So what it means, you nice people that are listening, is that some moron in Washington, the Treasury Department, can print just infinite supplies of cash, which devalues the US dollar. We're over 30 trillion in debt right now. And when interest rates go up even an eighth of a point, the interest on our debt is just staggering. And I promise you, it's going to go up. The Fed's going to raise it. So you sweet people that are buying chickens today for $5, that chicken could be $18 one of these days. I'm talking about a chicken, and I don't even mean a big chicken. I'm talking about a chicken that one of my boys could eat as a snack. I mean, just a drumstick chicken. And so inflation is going to be the werewolf from hell that hurts a lot of people that are listening to this. So the tools that you teach and the tools that I teach are to show you how to take paths so that if you want to do a mission trip and help a poor family in a third world country, you got the money to go. You don't have to ask people in your church for $100. You can just go for a month, and you got the time and the resources to do stuff. And that's kind of what I'm about. I want to help you with the resources so you can go do what you want to do with your life.
For our friends that don't know, James focuses on real estate as a tool to help people do the things he's talking about. I focus on the stock market, as you guys know. Here's, James, I know you'll agree with this. I don't think a job is a bad thing. I mean, it's an honorable thing. But the problem with America is we've been trained, even all the way up to the university, even the graduate school level, to work for a bigger boss. So we have been trained that we're going to be the worker bees. That's the way they train us and get us to think. Like you said, colleges make you feel like part of a group. You do group activities now rather than individualism like the Protestant ethic taught, John Calvin and all that. And so now people are just a number. And what we say is that, the job is not a bad thing, but it's not the end. It's the means to an end. So set aside some money and then learn to create your own business. And two of the greatest ways, I can't think really of many others that can match real estate and stock market, is you take some of that money you laid aside and you start a family business doing, trading in the stock market or doing real estate or both. And eventually that becomes the big thing in your life. Now you can bring your kids in, teach them the skill sets, and have the potential to create generational wealth that way. You can't do that with a job. So, that's the thing. And the other thing you talk about, one thing is you mainly have to give people hope. But, one thing you do so well and is so important is you get their attention first. And you talk about how maybe you get the most complaints out of all the other speakers. That's because you're getting people's attention. And to do that, sometimes you got to make them angry at what they're doing with their life or not doing with their life. And you do a great job of that. Here's something else I've noticed. I thought we were going to talk about real estate and stock market and skills and all this. And this is moved in a better direction. This is moved in the direction of life and why these things are important in the overview of your whole life. I had two amazing mentors other than my own family. And one of them was this older gentleman that had taught the Bible 50 years before I met him. And then I became his pastor. I was in my 40s, so I was young compared to him. So I took him out to coffee once a week, and then it became twice a week, and then 3 times a week to pick his brain because he knew God. He just flat knew God. He knew the Bible. And he asked me one time, his name was Brother Otis Fisher. He'd take a sip of coffee, and then he'd ask a question that'd take me 2 weeks to study and figure out. It was fun for him and for me, but he said, Brother David, he said, what's the difference between a co-heir and a joint heir? I said, well, Brother Otis, I know Jesus says that we're made to be joint heirs. I said, I guess I don't know. I said, I'm not an attorney. Tell me the difference. He said, Brother David, a co-heir is like if our dad dies and we're brothers, then I get half and you get half. He said, but Brother David, a joint heir is our dad dies and you get 100% and I get 100%. Only God can do that. And I thought, wow. So here's the thing.
I love it.
All of us listening are joint heirs with the person you started out talking about, the creator of the universe. He created everything that is. In fact, if he isn't, nothing would have existed. Even the idea of nothingness wouldn't have existed because he created that too. So there'd be no nothing. That sounds like Texan, I know, but it's good preaching. But anyway, that if you realize that you own, each individual listening to us today owns everything in the universe because God made it all and you're a joint heir with him, then it keeps you from believing the world when they tell you you're just a number, you can't do this, you're not a millionaire, you'll never be a millionaire because millionaires are special, and all these things. And your biggest job, you're one of the best people I've ever seen to get people's minds to shut up and quit thinking all that stuff and focus on the fact that they're special, that God has a plan for them, they're an individual with gifts nobody else has. And now here's some tools: stock market, real estate. That's the easy part. Just go learn it. It's skill sets. It's not rocket science. Go learn it and then benefit your family.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no way I would get the opportunity to teach people these skill sets if you didn't get their attention, show them hope, and get them to think about the fact that they've been sold a bill of goods.
A bad bill of goods. Yeah. Like some people, I think the worst person they have ever met in their life is themselves, because they do things that keep themselves from obtaining their dreams and goals. And, sometimes married people that are negative and drip on them every day. And, I'm not a proponent of divorce for sure, but there are people that'll watch this podcast that are divorced, that are single moms, are there are husbands where the wife ran off and just said, I don't love you anymore. And you got to get past that, because what people say of you isn't who you are. It's what God says of you is who you are. And then there are people that will pray, God, please open doors. And then God opens a door and you don't walk through it because you're just living in fear. So, I talk about people that I've helped along the way. Just, Jesus spoke in parables, and there's, I love people that you look at them and it's just like, man, that is one train wreck. There's no way they could do well. And, I've got a guy in San Antonio, quit school in the 8th grade, drove a truck. Somebody shot him when he was riding his motorcycle. Most of his intestines were taken out. He couldn't work anymore. We trained him. The guy now all over Texas buys tax liens and tax deeds, and he has housing for veterans that can't find a place to live. And he's a multi-millionaire by just being kind and helping people and knowing some simple things to do that anybody can do. And I like that. And that's, and sometimes people say, well, I don't have any money. My credit's bad. Well, how am I going to get a property? Well, get out of your own way, doofus, and let me show you. I mean, I can show you how to do that. I mean, there was a lady at the show that I introduced, and she was a part-time cashier at Target, and one of 10 children, father left the family. She had to support the family working part-time at Target. So that dog don't hunt. You can't make it doing that. So just literally, you can lease a property from someone and put it on Airbnb, but it has to be a long-term lease, like 5 years. So there's things that everybody could do to get some revenue coming in that replicates or replaces their job, so that they can now go do something with their lives and do better. And that's kind of what it's all about. My father was a sweet man, and he got the National Geographic because he loved the world and always wanted to travel, but didn't have any money to travel. So I was able to send him places that he didn't have the money to go to, because I did. Mm-hmm. And now my son, last week, which you don't know this, I was in Park City snow skiing, and my kid rents a mansion in Park City. A mansion. I've never seen so many bathrooms and multiple kitchens and multiple washing machines and dryers and huge garage. And he just said, hey, I want to go snow skiing with my kids, and we want you to come with us. And I've taken care of all the expenses. I just want you to just come hang out with us. And so there's scripture in the Bible about how you treat your parents. Even if your parents were bad and you don't want to be around them, at least forgive them.
And honor them.
At least forgive them and just move on, But all the money in the world couldn't replace the joy I got out of last week, just being able to go snow skiing.
Yeah, with your family.
Yeah.
Well, you bring in these skill sets that are available, but you talk about life more than anything. And a big part of that is family, how important it is. You spend a lot of time talking about, hey, turn the TV off. And Americans have just lost it as far as priorities. And so you get their focus back on it, and it doesn't take you long to do it. I don't know how long you're usually up there. It seems like 5 minutes to me because you're such a great speaker, but you don't have a lot of time up there to totally turn 8,000 people's life around, and you do it. And, I was not a Christian. I got out of college, had 2 degrees in business, and was running our family oil company before I became a Christian. So I was 24 years old, and I got saved in my car driving to work one day. Needless to say, that turned a lot of things around, but a lot of the things you hear in church are just sayings. They're not even in the Bible. One preacher heard another preacher say it and preaches it's not even in the Bible. But they talk a lot about how to know God's will. Can you make sure you're in God's will? And what I've learned is God is sovereign, so you're in his will. But what you need to do is to seek to please him while you're in his will and do the best you can for him. But something you said made me think about this a while ago. He said, there are opportunities. You talk about real estate, stock market. We can show you how to do it. It's just skill sets. You learn them line by line like anything else, but it has the potential to change your family for generations if you just sit down and learn those things. And so what you said, and I had two different mentors that were amazing, and they both taught me 4 steps to know God's will. And they were remarkably similar in what they said, but I added a 5th step. And the step that I added was take a step, because when you step, you're stepping into God's will. You're stepping into the future. And that friend you're going to meet may be the person that you need to help you do the business thing you're trying to do. You don't know. It may be the instructor that you need to show you these skill sets. You don't know, but God has got your life planned, and it's wonderful. And there aren't 5 plans because God's perfect. So there's one plan, and we're in it. And so look for that person, look for that opportunity, and then step towards it. If it's not God's will, he'll put a closed door, and then you got to look to the left, to the right, you go through the open door. It's kind of that simple. And once you learn that, you stop worrying about having to make it all happen. You just do what's in front of you and do it well and walk through that door and take a step. And you know what, James, my fear is most Americans won't take that step because they're so far removed from entrepreneurism now. They're scared to do anything. And they don't understand the risk-return trade-off that God flung into the universe after the fall, after we left the garden. He put that out there. He put probability math out there, which is what makes the stock market work. And all of that is out there, and he wants us to take a risk. The parable of the talents that we learned in Sunday school taught that. The only person who got rebuked and punished was the one of the 3 who was fearful and wouldn't take any risk. That's in the Bible. That's a principle in the universe. You have to take risk if you ever want to see return. And going to that job is a bigger risk than you think it is, because you can lose that job any minute. But why not take a risk that could benefit your whole family, create a family business through real estate or stock trading, and then teach your kids and grandkids, have them all work with you. That way you get to see your grandkids and have the possibility of building generational wealth. That's really how it's done. It's not done by going to college to learn how to do something no one else in the family ever did. And that's the American plan. It just doesn't work.
I got asked multiple times in Dallas, do I need to get a license to do what you do? And it's like, no. If you can fog a mirror, you can do what I do. And so you don't need to be a stockbroker. You don't need to be a real estate broker or an agent. All you got to do is get started. Get started. The Daytona 500 just ran. How do you win it?
Start the engine.
Start your engine and let's drive. And, let's just get it on. I mean, I love that. My whole family is doing well because of all of the biblical principles that we talked about. I mean, my oldest son, Ryan, started in 2009, and one of the first properties he bought was a mobile home park. The nice thing about mobile home parks is once people move in, they don't move out. And I mean, they're cash cows. So that first one brought him in, I don't remember the exact number. It's irrelevant. About 10 grand a month, positive cash flow. And see, the people listening to this right now, brother, listen to this. There are people that have never quantitatively gone through this. I got people listening to you and me right now that only have 96 paychecks, and then there are going to be no more paychecks. Or there are people listening that got 132 paychecks left, and then there are going to be no more paychecks, like ever. So most people wait until they've got 2 paychecks left and they go, oh, dear God, please open a door. He's already opened it. Why don't you prepare for that time? I mean, it just blows me away how people don't understand. If you want an income coming in when you're old and decrepit, you got to prepare today. And I wake up every morning before I get out of bed, and I'm you can get on your knees if you want to. I don't get out of bed until I've prayed, probably. Who knows? I don't have a timer, but I do every day. And I'm just so grateful for every day that I have. And in Orlando, where I live, several weeks ago, there was a comedian at the Ritz-Carlton over on John Young Parkway, and he didn't go to the door when the maids came to the door, and he hit his head, and it was Mr. Saget, the comedian, and he died of a brain bleed. Well, this past late summer, early fall, I fell. You see the paneling in my room here? That's all hardwood. And I've never done this before. So this is brand new. I fell, hit my head on one of those lips, and I had a brain bleed. And I went to the hospital, and they said, if you were a couple hours later, you would be dead because you had 4 ounces of blood on your head. And so I almost left the emergency room. I almost didn't stay because there were drug guys that were foaming at the mouth, and it was gross. I almost left. Yeah. But I didn't. And had I left, I'd be dead. I wouldn't have made it. So, so then you say, well, why did God save your life or spare your life? Or maybe you were just lucky. No, I wasn't lucky. He did so that I could go to Dallas. Right? So that I could go to Fort Lauderdale, so that I could go to Denver, so that I could go hopefully someday to LA, because they need help more than almost any city on planet Earth. Yeah. And just show people things that they can do. So, if it sounds corny, the joke's on you, but I feel like God spared my life because it really, I already was in gratitude and appreciation, but it was times X. I feel like every day is a gift, and that's why I don't want to waste it. So when you asked me to be on your podcast, I was like, oh, absolutely, for sure. Because this podcast hopefully will be seen by a lot of people and give them some encouragement if they want their money to grow. And they'll make mistakes. I mean, they'll make a stupid mistake, but mistakes are fixable. It's not the short game; it's the long game.
Yeah, mistakes are the part of the education.
It's part of the education. Yeah. And so what we want to do is minimize our mistakes and accentuate our gains on whatever it is that we're going into. So the nice thing is when you understand where people are migrating to, where they're moving to, the states that are going to be on fire. I mean, you can live in a state where it's screwed up and invest in a state that's not and become wealthy. Yeah. With what you train, you can be ice fishing in Minnesota and do what you talk about. You don't have to be around humans.
I've never said it that way. I said, if you got a laptop, you can make a living from a beach or the mountains. I never said while ice fishing, but that's a good one too.
Yeah. Go ice fishing or moose hunting. You can still do this up in your blind if you're a duck hunter or up in a tree stand. You can still do what you do.
You can trade stocks from anywhere. Well, James, I hope we can do this again. Let me ask you this. Yeah. Tell our listeners how they could reach you if they want to learn some stuff about real estate, because they know how to reach me for stock market stuff. How could they reach you, or what would you like us to let them know?
I'll give them I'm pretty old. I'll give you an email address. They get a hold of me if they want to. It's pretty simple. It's expert, like if a person is an expert, INRE at AOL. And yeah, I said AOL. I didn't say Gmail.
AOL.
Right. AOL.com.
So it's expert, INRE at AOL. Super. That is so cool. Super cool. Well, guys, take advantage of that. And James, I hope we can do it again. I'm going to get to talk with Ryan pretty soon, and I'm going to tell you guys, you're going to get some more details on that trailer park concept. When I saw one of his, by the way, it looks like it ought to be in Hollywood. They look so nice. But anyway, we'll get into that sometime. And guys, don't forget to register for our Word on Investing Virtual Summit. It's coming up on April 22nd and 23rd, and it's going to be an amazing event. You're going to hear from me and some very special guests like Dr. Myron Golden, the Benham Brothers, and so many more. You're not going to want to miss this one. You can register for your free ticket today at TRADEway.com/summit. That's TRADEway.com/summit. James, thank you so much, man.
Blessings to you and your beautiful wife and kids and in-laws. Love you, brother.
Thank you. Love you too, man.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Well, guys, join us again tomorrow for another special episode featuring my good friend Shane Sams of Flipped Lifestyle. I think you're really going to enjoy this one.